And now, a word from
Infirmary Media.
Hey dudes and dudettes, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Be Kind and Rewind podcast, a podcast chock full of everything nostalgic about the 80s, 90s, and more, with throwback celebrity interviews and retro movie commentaries. I'm your host, Carlos. This episode, we're talking about the documentary Goddess, the fall and rise of Showgirls, that explores everything about the 1995 cult classic starring Elizabeth Berkley, as well as the current Kickstarter campaign, along with a little Showgirls trivia. So I'm joined by a producer of this documentary, among others, is Lotti Pharis Knowles. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Carlos. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining the podcast today. I'm ready to talk about the documentary that everyone didn't know that they needed at this point.
But now they desperately need, now that they know.
I mean, I'm one of them, like we were just talking about. We saw on Twitter. I was like, I got to see what this is all about. And then we had some quick communication, and here we are. And I'm excited to hear about the process of this documentary, and then of course we're going to get into the Kickstarter. So I guess let the listeners know, about the documentary itself.
Sure. Well, the director Jeffrey Schwartz, who's an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker, and he and I have been working together for about 10 years now. We started with his documentary Vito about LGBT civil rights activist Vito Russo. Then we did I Am Divine about the John Waters, drag queen from Female Trouble, Hairspray, Pink Flamingos, all those great movies. And we've worked in various capacities on other things, but we're really collaborating again now on this movie about Showgirls, which both of us love. And I would go so far as to say I've been pretty much obsessed with Showgirls since I first saw it. I didn't see it in the theater when it came out, which is such a bummer to me, even now. I was introduced to it like 6 months later on VHS. And it's just been kind of a big part of my life ever since. And so when he came to me with the idea, I, of course, wanted to be part of it. And, he really wanted to tell not just the making of, although, of course, that's part of it, but, the story of the journey that this film has taken, and how that the film and the journey that Elizabeth Berkley went on with it is really resonant now, like in the era of Me Too and Time's Up. And, just to kind of explore how different people have been affected by this film, because it's amazing to see the wide range of, different responses to it.
Yeah, and like you said, my initial reaction, I was a sprite 11-year-old child when this came out. And so I was in that core audience wanting to see Jesse Spano expand into a different genre of movies. And so we were, my friends and I are trying to find ways to rent the movie and things like that. So we had a kind of a different appreciation for it, I guess, growing up. But now as we got older, we've watched it a few times, and you kind of get the it's so bad it's good type of situation. But it's surprising that it's been this long that there hasn't been a full-on documentary, because like you said, there's a lot of behind the scenes. It's kind of been the undercurrent storyline of that movie wasn't great, it had some effect, but the story of how did it affect some of these actors, and what were their thoughts looking back 25 years at this point in time.
Right Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, like talking to Paul Verhoeven, the great Paul Verhoeven, the director who also made films like Basic Instinct, RoboCop, Starship Troopers. And, it's funny, he says Showgirls is pretty much his only movie that he still wants to watch. And he just really felt like audiences were not ready for it at the time. And, I think I started off certainly in the so bad it's good camp, but it's really weird how many people I've started talking to. I don't know if it's weird, but it's exciting, I guess, how many people I've who don't just love it on that, level, which is a perfectly acceptable level to love it on, but also a lot of people who genuinely think it's this great, brilliant movie because they saw it in just such a different context than when it came out, and everybody was, throwing tomatoes at it pretty much. So, and a lot of the actors too, it was kind of this embarrassment at first, But over time, it's become, as many of them say, the best thing on their resume, the greatest conversation piece, and that's something that they're recognized for more than almost anything else.
It's almost like kind of like that tragic story. The actor gets known for that one role. They don't want to get known for it. They hate it for a period of time, and then they come to appreciate it at some point down the line. Which it is interesting, like you said too, that you're getting fans from all over. Because I watched it as an 11-year-old. There are people who watched it who are full-grown adults or different ages. So yeah, they're going to have that different appreciation. And of course, all movies are subjective, so everybody's going to have their own opinion about movies. So it is interesting because like you said, there's so many opinions and the negative, it's so bad it's good type of situation, but it's probably refreshing to hear those who genuinely enjoyed it for what it is.
Exactly. Yes. And, and I've kind of come around to now feeling, I still enjoy the campiness of it, the parts that are over the top, but I also now, even have, I am older than you, and I was a full grown adult when I saw it, but I do have a different appreciation for it now, more as a work of art and as a social commentary that was pretty biting. And I think it was kind of a little bit ahead of its time, actually. And it's just not so shocking now. I mean, when you think of everything that's gone on in society, and all these revelations about, all these gross creeps in the entertainment industry, and it's, all come out, like suddenly that stuff doesn't seem so far off from reality, what happened in the film with the characters. Yeah, and what happened to Elizabeth Berkley too. I mean, shoot, she was like this 20-year-old young woman, and why was she blamed for the film's failure? Was it because she was, her worst crime was being unafraid to stretch as an actor and to portray, this unbridled, female sexuality? It was awful the way Hollywood and critics and everyone treated her at that time.
Even as kids, like the reaction, like we were just kind of thrown off by it because like we were fans of her as Jessie Spano from Saved by the Bell, but to see her, take that leap into movies and then on top of that make another leap to the sexuality part about it, she should have been commended for that. And like you said, she took the brunt of the blame, where there are a lot of people who should have taken the blame for it. It should have been spread out as opposed to her taking it, especially at a young age. And yeah, it was ahead of its time in regards to the way, the Me Too movement was, before that whole situation was depicted. And, with Paul Verhoeven, RoboCop, like you said, Starship Troopers, Total Recall, all those movies have that edge to them, they're pushing the limits in regards to what a lot of us Americans are used to seeing in some of these type of movies. So when we see Showgirls, a lot of people were thinking, I'm going to see a version of Jessie Spano, because she was like, this feminist on Saved by the Bell, and then she takes this dramatic turn from this movie, and everyone's just assuming that's going to be the character. And I think they came in with the wrong assumption. I think that's the double-edged sword when you do TV like that. You're known for that character, but it's hard to, I guess, get out of that character for other people in people's minds.
But also, Paul Verhoeven wanted to make this very, as he says, hyperbolic movie. And he said, listen, like, if you feel like her acting was bad or too over the top, remember, I directed her to do exactly what she did. That was the performance I wanted from her because of what he was trying to create. And, so again, it's like, listen, whether, I was honestly too old. Like I knew what Saved by the Bell was, of course, but I didn't have any kind of preconceived notions. But I think that performance and the movie itself, it was just so shocking. But now, I've gone back and revisited some of almost all. I've got like 2 more to watch of Paul's earlier films that he made in Holland. And they all are very edgy and very, they all have social commentary. They all push the edges of sexuality. Many push the edges of violence, so he's always been this provocateur. And, I think there's just a lot of reasons, I think, why people were just not ready for Showgirls. And because in this country, let's face it, we're ready for violence. We're always ready for violence. We can see incredible violence in a PG-13 rated movie, but show us a boob or a lady part downstairs or a penis, and it's like, whoa, oh my God, and that's going back to like, the time of the Puritans who founded this country.
It's all about save the children.
Yeah, and we've always been, but why are we saving them from natural body parts rather than from violent, extreme violence? That's always just kind of been the American way, and it's very different than it is in Europe. So, it's just funny that we accepted and gobbled up and loved all these very violent movies that he made here in the States. But the second he made one that was very sexual, and especially with this very in-your-face empowered female sexuality, America wasn't ready for it.
No, they weren't. It was definitely ahead of its time. And like you talked about, the RoboCop, Starship Troopers, Total Recall, those are all iconic action, edgy action movies, and he's renowned for those, and everyone loves him for those. But like you said, when it comes to Showgirls, that's where the edge went too far, and it's all, like you said, in the American norms. That's we're a little uptight when it comes to those things.
Yes,
I guess so. And Paul, he I saw in the one of his quotes that he was kind of in Holland. He was kind of thought about that as well. He pushed the edge out there. So even for European standards, he was pushing the edge out there.
Yes. No, it's true. And, he was commended for a long time, but then I guess there were some works that, went too far for people even there. So, but he has a lot to say. He has, a lot of interesting, social arguments that he wants to make in his movie that are but they're wrapped up in these entertaining packages. And, Showgirls was no different. It was just that the way it was packaged was, something that most people, I think, they were not able to digest whatever the message was. And now there's still people who hate it. And God bless, like you said, it's subjective. If you don't love Showgirls, you may still find this documentary interesting just in terms of the journey of this particular film. But, it is encouraging to see that a lot more people understand what he was trying to say, with it at the time nowadays. And I think he's very happy about that as well.
Well, I think you guys found a niche market, because like I am a sucker for these behind the scenes, like documentaries, like I got to hear about what went on, like, cause you can read about stuff, you can only get so much from Entertainment Tonight, those little featurettes. So you gotta get the nitty gritty stuff. And so I love these type of documentaries, because we haven't had much from this other than the people just kind of shitting on it. Basically, we haven't had, more inclusive insider kind of, the interviews and all the different cast members that are going to be coming out. So definitely excited for that. Do you guys have a potential release date then for the documentary, based on what we have with the Kickstarter that we'll talk about?
Yeah, sure. Well, our goal, and it will happen. It will happen one way or another.
We're going to make sure it happens.
Yes, we don't know exactly the date we're going to release, because the premiere will likely be at a film festival, and obviously, it's a little premature to know where that's going to be. But we do want to release in 2020, which is going to be the 25th anniversary of Showgirls. So that's been our timing goal all along, and we have shot most of our interviews. There's a few we have left to get. A couple people we're still talking with to see if we can make it happen. And, then we're going full throttle next month, and then beyond into post-production, with editing and the sound mix, and doing, the archival research where we have to go back and, see what we can legally use for free, or what do we need to pay for in terms of, photos, videos from back in the day. And that's what we're raising money for, is all of that stuff, which is not cheap, unfortunately.
No, it's not at all. People think you can just flip it out. No, it's everyone needs to get paid. Everyone doing those things needs to be paid.
Yes. Yeah, and especially on some of that archival. It's funny, some stuff is, you'd be surprised what you can get away with using under fair use laws. But even that, you need a good attorney, that you have to pay to tell you, like, oh yeah, you can do this, and then other things, you find that you think, well, who cares about this old video clip? And like, nope, that'll be $5,000 or what, whatever it is. So, Yeah, it's a process. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work too, and money is always for independent filmmakers the big question mark and the big, kind of scary thing that holds us up a lot of the time. But, we've just kind of kept pushing forward, and we've gotten really far so far, and just have been really excited because I do the social media, and it's just so much fun interacting with other Showgirls fans and quoting lines with them and talking to them about the things they're kind of obsessed with about the movie or questions they have. And so it's, and that's the other thing about Kickstarter is I wouldn't recommend it for every project, but for something like this, because there's this community of fans out there, I want those fans, and Jeffrey wants those fans to feel like they're part of our team. They're part of this journey and this experience, getting this documentary made, because it's for them. It's hopefully for some other people who don't know it's for them yet too. But first and foremost, who's the first audience that's going to want to watch this? It's, these folks that, we talk to on the internet every day. So.
Well, you're already hitting the diehards, and kudos to you for starting the campaign on 319. And for the Princess song 319.
Yes.
I love it. As soon as I saw that, I was like, beautiful. And you're doing great. You're just past the halfway point.
Yes.
So, and you guys, I feel like you have in no time you're going to be hitting that goal. So
let us hope. Let us hope. It's still, the Kickstarter's always kind of, well, not always, but if they go well, they kind of start off strong and end strong. But then there's the kind of saggy place in the middle, which is, where I lose my sleep, where I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How do I entice people
where
today?
The refresh.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. But, again, I do believe we're going to make it. There is no other option because we have to raise all of it or we don't get to keep any of it. We wanted it to have that ticking clock and the urgency that, hey, everybody needs to get out there and share the link and make sure we get there so everybody can get their swag and make sure we make this movie on time. So.
Of course. Yeah. No, optimism is key, and you have plenty of it. And I think it's going to get you to the goal in no time. So we're definitely, we'll be pumping out the link so people can get to it. So will fans and backers get to see the updates or progress on social media, like while you guys are maybe getting some clips together or anything like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll be posting updates as we go along, that we'll have to see like what we can actually post as in terms of clips. We've been posting these little snippets of interviews just to kind of reveal who our interviews have been. And we'll have, photo albums of that and everything up. But we'll at least, we'll continue to post fun Showgirls related content, even when we're kind of deep in editing. And we will also be posting interviews on not interviews, updates for the donors through Kickstarter. Like anyone who donates is then on an email list, and I make sure to send up until pretty much the film is out there. I'll be sending out updates for everybody so they know what's going on. Yeah. And we'll be sending out our swag, starting in June. So that'll be cool. Yeah.
And it looks like you guys have some pretty awesome incentives as well.
We do, and we're gonna add some more, here in the last week of the campaign. But the kind of general stuff we've got, even if you can only afford $10, we're going to give you a shout out on social media and send you a goddess postcard to say thank you. And then if you give a little more, you get a bumper sticker and these Crave Club flyers that Rena Riffle, who played Penny/Hope, she still has them. So we're going to make a bunch of copies of those. So everybody has a Crave Club flyer.
People are going to love those. Yeah. You guys already know your fans. That's the best part.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But if you can afford $35, that's the level where you get your name in the credits of the movie. And once it's complete and we've done our festival run, then you'll get a private link to watch the film. A little higher than that, we'll have Blu-rays and T-shirts. And then there's some other really unique items. So the one thing that's been really popular is we found all these cool artists that we've kind of been interacting with for a while on like Instagram who have created like amazing Showgirls themed art. And people love it. Like we can't keep that stuff in stock, which is cool. So So yeah, and that's another fun thing too, is people that we never knew before, but we met through doing this Instagram or this Twitter or whatever, have reached out, or I've reached out to them when I've seen their cool art and been like, hey, you want to donate a few prints? And they've all been super cool about it. So
the beauty of the internet right there.
I mean,
if there's positive things about the internet, we found them here.
Yeah, there are. No, there's lots of great things about the internet. It's just sometimes it's a little overwhelming and exhausting.
Yes, it can be for sure.
Yeah, we have to manage our relationship with the internet, but we really, we keep it positive. I've rarely seen anybody post anything negative on our social media. Everybody's just a Showgirls fan and chill and having a good laugh and having fun and excited about, this documentary. So we luckily, we have the greatest fans. Thank you guys. And, it's not exhausting to be on the internet with them at all. It's just a joy.
Well, not at all. No, when you're passionate about the subject, it's easy to comment and get into all that good stuff. But we can't leave out the high rollers. Let's talk about some of these higher incentives I see here.
Yes. If you are a high roller and can afford a larger amount, we have several actors from Showgirls movie who have lines in the movie, they're real actors, standing by, who will make personalized videos for you or a friend where they will say a message to you or your friend or loved one, whoever you want the video for, that will incorporate at least one of their famous lines from the movie. So those are going to be really fun. We have one costume piece that someone donated to us that I need to do a post on, because we reunited the actor with his jacket recently when we filmed his interview, and that's Alan Rachins, who was Tony Moss, my favorite character in the movie.
The Tony Moss blazer, is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. Yeah. So we've got that for $1,000. If nobody bites, maybe the price will come down, but maybe it won't. Maybe somebody will bite, at that. But it's beautiful blazer that he wore in the party scene toward the end when when Nomi has become goddess, and they're at the Riviera. No, they're at the Palms. I think they said they rented out the bungalows there. So, and then for even higher rollers, we have things like, if you can get to LA or you're in LA, you can have lunch with the director, producers, and at least one member of the cast who can kind of talk about, making the movie and dish some private dirt behind the scenes and take photos and that kind of thing. And then starting at $10,000, you can get a producer credit. There's associate producer, co-producer, executive producer. Obviously, there's probably, we know that like where we're going to be living mostly is the $10 to $100 range with most people. We wish we could make it lower, but we have to raise that money. So, you got
to do it the Fire Festival way, right? You have to just go crazy.
Exactly. Oh my God, that's a great document. Those documentaries are amazing.
Oh man, I watched both of them. I was hooked.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, you're right. You got to go with the high ones, because you never know. Someone will get on it. You just never know. And can you put the associate producer on your resume? Is that part of the
oh sure,
the criteria?
Yeah, you can be on IMDb.com and the whole shebang. So yes, absolutely. We have people who did that for I Am Divine, who still have that like on their Facebook profile or IMDb. So yeah, I mean, it's just a cool incentive that if there is, somebody out there who's a huge Showgirls fan and they've got the money and they want to help us out, and then they get a lot of perks. They get to be invited to see rough cuts of the film. They get to, be invited to the premiere and that sort of thing. And so we take care of all our donors, even the $10 people we take care of and love and appreciate. But if somebody's giving us $10,000, we'll take care of them. You know what I mean?
I'll take a postcard or a meet and greet. Either one, I'll be happy. So no,
yes.
You got the whole gamut covered. So we'll get the links all down there so people can check it out. We'll be pumping it out, because the Kickstarter's down to its last about 8 or 9 days at this point.
Yes.
So
yeah,
we're looking to get that goal on the first try here. So we're gonna get it going. Like I said, we'll get that pumped up there. But just kind of jumping back to the documentary itself.
Yes.
Like you said, you've been part of the other documentaries and producer, but you've also acted And you were in Showgirls too, if I'm not mistaken.
In fact, guess how I got that role was by donating to the Kickstarter campaign for that movie.
Oh, nice. See?
Yes.
There you go. Dreams can come true.
Dreams come true through Kickstarter, my friend. It's no lie. But I had already known Rena. I had met her a couple of years before she started working on her cult classic, Showgirls 2, Pennies from Heaven. But then when she put the Kickstarter up, I wanted to support her. But when I saw, speaking role, that was all I needed to dig deep in the pockets and make that happen. So yes, I have I am the charming Gladys, the homeless showgirl. And it's quite a performance is all I'll say. I'm not going to say it's good or bad. I'm just going to say it's a thing. It's out there.
Was part of the Kickstarter picking your own name as well?
No, she got, she's the writer, the visionary. And so, I was given the name, told what to do, but I did dress myself. And she's the greatest, by the way. And Rena's given us a lot of cool swag, and she'll be one of the actors that will do the video messages, and was willing to come to lunch with people. I mean, she's just a national treasure, and I adore her. So thank you, Rena, and thanks to all the actors and crew from Showgirls. They are all amazing.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So the atmosphere on set, was like everybody, a fan of the previous movie, trying to want to do it justice, or just kind of knew like what the vibe was they're trying to set for this particular movie?
Oh, this is for Showgirls too?
Yes.
Yeah. It's funny because there are certain things, kind of themes that overlap a little bit in the first one and the second one. And she did actually get quite a few of the actors, to come back. Glenn Plummer, who plays James, and Greg Travis, Dewey Weber. There's several more, but she did her super low budget. So it's a very different type of cult movie, than Showgirls, which had like a $40 million budget or something crazy. But Rena has, a very unique creative perspective. And she also has a lot of funny, sly things to say about being a woman trying to make it in Hollywood, which, is where the second one is set. So I definitely encourage people to check it out.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you have to go. There might be a trilogy. You never know.
Yeah.
You could be part of the third one too.
Oh my God. Don't tempt me, man. Don't tempt me. I got to keep focused right now. But yeah, we gave away a couple signed DVDs of Showgirls 2. And I think we've got a couple more coming in that we're going to put up on the Kickstarter campaign sometime this week. So keep an eye peeled for that.
Well, cool. We definitely will. So some other things too, like we talked about, you've done some other documentaries, which, it's just a whole other beast when it comes to filmmaking. So you're just no stranger to this genre with your accomplishments. But so what are some like pros and cons people don't get to see behind the scenes, especially like in a documentary like this?
It's funny because it's not like making a regular narrative movie where you're showing up on set every day and, the shooting is a big part of it. But it's sort of like, okay, when are people available that we, have enough interview subjects that we can afford a crew and a space for the day, and so much of the documentary is done behind the scenes in terms of research, getting the archival stuff, these photos, like, whether it be from people who are involved with the movie or going back to, like you mentioned, Entertainment Tonight, trying to find like a clip from something like that, or one of the actors who appeared on a talk show back in the day. So it's a little different. I mean, it's still fun in a different sort of way, but you know what I mean? Like it's a longer process in a way, usually, of shooting and researching and all of that, than most, at least the narrative films I've done have been horror and also kind of low budget. So that's kind of more fly by the seat of your pants and like, you're shooting and
Yeah.
all right, let's put this thing together, So yeah, it's a different experience, but it's very cool. And it's so nice now that documentaries are so popular as well. I think that people really slaved in obscurity on documentaries until a few years ago. I mean, Michael Moore, I think, started that movement a lot, but it just seems like documentary interest. And I wonder sometimes if reality TV and a lot of the true crime TV that's really popular was kind of like a gateway drug for people, to get into documentaries and not just see them as like, oh, this is some arty, weird form of film that isn't entertaining and I'm not interested in. But I think a lot of documentarians have also kind of upped their game in terms of, making the films more entertaining and a little less, arty or esoteric or that sort of thing. So
definitely, because we're used to those history class ones from back in the day. So now that we see more cinematic ones, I'm into it. If you give me a good score and some good cinematography, I'm there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what Jeffrey and I have always done with our documentaries, and we will absolutely do with this one as well.
Awesome. And so producing it and doing a documentary, based on something you're passionate about, especially with Showgirls, it will bring its own set of perks. So I guess, was there anyone on your personal bucket list of actors that you got to speak with for the documentary?
Well, all of them.
Of course. I wasn't sure if anyone barely tipped over the top of everybody else.
I know. I'm still like such a geek about it that, like I'm professional, but I also, the person that I was probably the least professional and most geeky with was Alan Rachins, who plays Tony Moss. And I had met him because a few years ago, my husband and I guess we sort of crashed this party, but Rena kind of invited us too. So I guess we were legit. But it was like the 15th anniversary Blu-ray release party for Showgirls at some weird club in Beverly Hills. And Paul Verhoeven and a lot of the cast members were there. So both the night I met Alan Rachins there and when we interviewed him for this, I quoted some of his lines to him in, his voice, like, what is this? See ya. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yes, go for it.
So I'm like, should I be like, come back when you fuck some of that baby fat off? And it's like, oh, I can't say that. But so that's, it's like for me, so exciting that not only am I meeting them, but like with him, I like say some of his lines to him and he laughs. Like, that's a girl's dream.
That's
right
tough.
there.
I would have just froze, or I would have said the wrong line from a different movie or something like that. That would have happened to me.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man. Like, it just depends. Like I've had my embarrassing moments too, but I'm just a ham and I don't have a lot of filter usually. So I just kind of, it just sort of, his lines just sort of pop out. But luckily he laughed and he thought it was funny. He was like, here's this little blonde chick saying Tony Moss's, kind of awful misogynistic lines. But
well, I guess we all know who's going to end up with the Tony Moss blazer at this point in time with the pledge.
I know. Believe me, I've thought about just keeping it in the back of my closet.
It's like if nobody donates, it might just, just go to the back of the closet. Yeah, like you said.
It might just stay there. But eventually, I'm trying to move it. It's for the good of the movie. I'll just give it, maybe I'll just sleep next to it the last night before I mail it out.
Nothing weird about that at all.
No,
nothing
weird about that.
No. Well, cool. So what festivals are you guys thinking about screening at which one are you most excited to get to?
Oh, I cannot say because we haven't even started applying yet.
Okay.
That'll come further down the line when, we've got a cut of the film ready to send off to the festivals. But let's just say, we're going to shoot for some of the biggies and we'll see if we... Fingers crossed. We'll be on the lookout. We'll see where we land. But we will absolutely, as soon as we're able to share anything in any step of the journey with our friends out there, our fellow fans of Showgirls, we will do so.
Well, awesome. Well, lastly about the documentary. So will fans and everyone get to see Elizabeth Berkley make an appearance in the documentary?
Oh, we hope so. Okay. We're not sure yet.
I'm setting the stage for the to build the tension.
Yes, go ahead, build the tension. She's been very open about talking about it in recent years, especially. And one of the great moments was when she showed up to a screening here in Los Angeles at the 20th anniversary. And she really claimed it and thanked all the fans for keeping it alive. So, we would love to talk to her and tell her side of the story. And, we are in talks about that, but it is to be determined. And either way, we're going to have a great movie. So keep your fingers crossed. But again, we're going to make a killer movie y'all are going to love either way. So,
well, so lastly, like you talked about earlier, you're making this documentary partly as a tribute to all the diehard fans out there who've kept the light on for Showgirls for the last 25 years. But we cannot leave out yourself, who went all out and had a Showgirls themed wedding, if I'm not mistaken. Is this correct?
This is correct.
This is awesome. I have to hear about this. Let me know what is required to theme your wedding after Showgirls.
Well, so my husband and I met and fell in love, we like to say, because of the movie Showgirls, because we had met at a barbecue in the year 2000. And we were too shy to really speak to each other for most of the party. Then at the end of the night, there were only a few people left. So we were kind of finally in this group conversation, and being the kind of movie people we are, movie fans, that, was the topic that came up. And I almost right away, kind of like as a challenge, threw out Showgirls to him. And he is like, oh, yeah. Because I said something like, oh, Showgirls is one of my favorite. What about you? And he's like, oh, yeah, baby, I got towels.
Oh, that's the movie buff mating call right there.
Yeah. Oh, my God. And what am I trying to say? Like, peacock response call was, it must be weird not having anybody come on you.
Oh, yes. A match made in heaven right there.
I mean, seriously. So we had to, we wanted to go to Vegas. We wanted to do the whole thing. And so we dressed in matching black and leopard print. I was in full on revenge Nomi, with the press on nails and the fall and everything.
I love it.
And we told our other friends, like, here's some ideas, but just dress Vegas flashy, do what, you kind of want there. But, we incorporated a few things, about the movie kind of into our vows and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, it was a blast, and it was kind of like the perfect spiritual union for us. And we've just been collecting, Showgirl centric experiences ever since, going to different, shows. Like there was a sock puppet Showgirls we saw in Chicago and LA. There's, Peaches Christ, the drag queen in San Francisco, used to put on this spectacle live show with the screening. Going to that party, and then being in the sequel, and then now doing this documentary. So it's literally like a culmination of 25 years.
It is, and it can keep going. This is just not the tipping point. You still got plenty more.
It ain't over till I'm in the ground, my friend.
There you go. That's the way to look at it. There you go. So yeah, we're just another stepping stone to the next thing here,
right.
and so yeah. Well, like I said, when I saw that you had the themed wedding, I was like, that's awesome, and I have to hear how they rocked that out, and it did not disappoint. So that is awesome of both of you. So kudos to you. So the last thing we're gonna do the little Showgirls trivia game.
Okay.
So as a producer and with insider knowledge of the film, I think that you're able to put to rest some of these IMDb facts that have been out there for years. So the listeners can play along. We're gonna do true or false.
Okay.
And we'll just see what we can come up with on these 5 true or false facts that we got from IMDb. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. True or false? Elizabeth Berkley worked 16 hours a day in high heels while dancing.
I'm sure that's true. Because even though we haven't talked to her directly yet, we have talked to a lot of the other dancers in Goddess, and they worked hard and played hard. They were working really hard all week, and they said they were in those costumes and those little G-strings and their heels for hours and hours and hours a day. And then on the weekend, they were going out partying because they were all, 19, 20 years old at the time. So their bodies could bounce back, by the time they had to be on the set Monday morning. So while some of these I may not be 100% positive either way, but I would suspect that's true.
Confirmed. I mean, that sounds legit to me, and I can't imagine little walking in high heels, dancing 16 hours in it. So kudos to all those ladies out there for sure.
Yes.
And so the next one, we have true or false. The filmmakers wanted Madonna to play Crystal Connors.
I am almost positive that's true as well. I'm trying to remember if Paul said something about it in his interview, but there were, they were looking at a lot of different people for both the main female roles. And I do believe Madonna was up for it. And I don't remember, but I'm hoping someone in their interview does tell that story of what went down with her and like, you know, how that came to be and how, you know, why she turned it down or whatever. So I would say I am 75% sure that's true.
Yeah, I remember A League of Their Own. Wasn't that around the same time?
Yes, maybe that's what she chose to do instead.
Oh, it was a couple years before, but I remember she had the same kind of situation. They brought her on A League of Their Own. Some of the girls weren't too happy about it, so I think it probably played a part coming on to this one. So I think there's some truth to it as well. So we'll move on from that one. So next one, true or false, Kyle MacLachlan used a body double for many shots.
This is another thing that I have heard, and it's funny. I mean, because when you see his little booty walking toward the pool, you know, his cute little booty, or whoever's cute little booty that is, when we've got the neon palm trees and the the bulimic dolphins, as I like to say, and his, in Zachary's swimming pool. It looks really seamless. Like, to me, it looks like he did it. But I have heard that he did use a body double for that and some other shots. So I'm going to say I'm only like 50% sure on this one. So that's to be determined. And I'll see if we have any footage to confirm or dispel that.
To be determined. Yeah, to be determined. IMDb so far is holding up. So far. Mm-hmm. So we're down to our last two. So true or false, director Paul Verhoeven subtly encouraged competition between the leads.
Ooh, I will be curious to see. Now, the reason, by the way, I should say, so I don't sound like a complete nincompoop, that sometimes I don't know the answer to these based on the interviews, is because most of the time when Jeffrey is conducting the interviews with our talent, I am sitting out in the hallway making, like, either trying to confirm other people for our day or waiting for the next person so I can get them, coffee and settled while we're finishing up in the room, or I'm ordering lunch for the crew. So a lot of times I haven't seen the complete interviews. Like, only Jeffrey and the DP and the sound guy who are in the room know for sure. So just FYI, some of these things might be revealed in the film, but I'm sadly unprepared to tell you, whether or not. So
you're just fine. It's the internet. Everyone will believe you.
But I'm old school, man. I'm Gen X.
Exactly. I need my proof. I need 3 sources of bibliography.
Yes,
everything.
Exactly. So remind me what that question was again.
That the director, Paul Verhoeven, subtly encouraged some competition between the leads.
Oh, yes. I hope that's true. I hope there's a story about that, because I did hear that Gina kept to herself a lot more on set than Elizabeth did. This was coming from the dancers. So I wonder if she was sort of encouraged, or maybe she herself decided, well, I'm Crystal Connors, I'm the star. I don't, some people get very into character where, actors in movies, if they have a tense relationship with another character, they don't want to be too buddy-buddy with that actor, because they want to, really
have that raw emotion, I guess, on screen.
Do a little bit of method so that something doesn't sneak in, so I would say that I don't know if that's true, but I would believe it. And I think that either Paul and or Gina decided that she was, quote unquote, better than the others, and so that she would kind of keep her distance in order to keep that vibe, on set for, so that it was kind of more real when the cameras started rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're setting the stage for, what the documentary could reveal. So
absolutely. We're
working on something here. So last one, true or false, Jenny McCarthy almost landed the role, but she couldn't dance.
I know she auditioned. So I don't know how close she was to getting the role. Or actually, did she? I'm trying to remember what the casting director said, because there were several people who were considered, and there were several who could not dance well enough, that it was just not going to happen. And so she definitely was, in contention or being seen for the role. but I don't know how close it really was, you know, in terms of like if she was in serious contention. But she was one of the people who was up for it and possibly auditioned for it. But Johanna Ray, the casting director, I do know she said in her interview that Elizabeth was the best, that she was, you know, right. She wanted it and she was ready to go for it. So she got it.
Well,
and the rest is history.
The rest is history. Exactly. I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, that was all of them. So congratulations on your esteemed knowledge of Showgirls. You've proven yourself worthy to put to bed some of these mysterious facts on IMDb.
I hope so.
I appreciate it.
Hopefully our documentary will do so, even for the ones that I was like, maybe. So, you know, but it was fun to play. And anytime you want me to quote any line from the movie, that I can do on a dime. So
you might just be getting some DMs randomly. I need this. I need this one.
Exactly.
So who knows? But that was today's episode. I really appreciate you coming on today. Let the listeners know where they can start following the Goddess documentary online to stay updated and also to contribute to the Kickstarter campaign before it ends on the 17th.
Correct. Yes, we are pretty much on all social media, and our website is Showgirls Doc. So that's like our Instagram handle. That's our Twitter handle. That's like the / after Facebook if you want to find us. And if you search Goddess Showgirls on Kickstarter.com, will come up right away. So yeah, just plug in Goddess Kickstarter. But it's also, the link is all over our social media, obviously, too, since we're, you know, gunning for that last week or so.
Well, perfect. Well, like I said, we're going to get everything down in the description so everyone can start tuning in, start, you know, checking out maybe the little videos that you guys might start putting up, contributing to the Kickstarter, just following along so they can see any updates coming up. So, Lotti, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on. You had some great stories for the podcast today.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos.
No problem. Well, everybody else, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Be Kind and Rewind podcast. Subscribe and rate us on all podcast apps, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart Radio, YouTube, and Infirmary Media Podcast Network. Also, follow the podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Be Kind Rewind Pod for all of your nostalgic needs. So thanks, and be excellent to each other.
Infirmary Media.